guys, it's Trina and this is another recent reads video. We're gonna have a few reviews in this video. Pardon that the footage is all cut with different backgrounds and different appearances and everything, but I really like how these reviews are going for me so far with being able to talk about the books as soon as I finish them and then kind of piece all the footage together. So hope you guys are enjoying this too, and let's get into the next few books that I've read this year. I also read Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I'm sure you guys know what it's about because it's gotten a lot of attention lately due to the Netflix movie. I've got opinions on the book and the movie. Not necessarily good ones. Basically, there is this creature that if people see it, you go crazy. Like, that's what the book describes it as. Almost always you end up killing yourself if you've seen the creatures. The way that people have coped with this type of world is they blindfold themselves if they're outside, or they find like a safe house and they board up all the windows so they can't see outside because they can't risk accidentally seeing one of these creatures and then becoming violent and dying. I did not like this book. The book was just, it was kind of boring. It's an amazing concept. I think that's really cool. Okay, you can't trust what you're seeing, so how do you cope in a world like that? But I just don't think that it delivered well on that. I read a lot of survival books, a lot of post-apocalyptic, a lot of creature stories, and in general this is a genre that I enjoy. But I think what didn't do it for me with this one is the author did not build tension. I'll get to that in a second, but when I first started hearing about this book, I was brand new on BookTube and I heard so many reviewers saying this book was really scary and freaky and it just messed with them. And so at that time, years ago, I thought, I'm too much of a scaredy cat. There's no way I can read that book if people who love horror are finding it really scary. But like, this was not scary. I really am still the biggest wimp when it comes to horror novels. But I like to be scared. If I'm picking up a book like that, I do want it to thrill me or scare me or whatever. And this just didn't do that. It was never really said what happened when you see them other than you start killing people and yourself. And that's part of why I didn't like how the author built tension or failed to build tension, because you are not supposed to question what these creatures are, how to stop them, where did they come from. You're just not supposed to care about that aspect because you're never going to find out. I don't think that was the goal, which is fine, but that failed to build tension because, yeah, sometimes people would speculate on, well, can we view them through like a mirror or through a camera or something. Like, they would speculate on this, but there wasn't anything, you know, really built up to explain the creatures or what was actually happening. To me, when you just are expected to be dropped into a story and not question what's going on, it fails to build tension. It fails to make me think, oh, well, maybe they can get away. I did watch the movie, and I do think that the movie worked better. It made a lot of changes. I think it showed the group of people in the house a lot better. It kind of built the characters and the relationships better. Even though there were a lot of changes, I think that they were, you know, for the best. They were developing things more. And it built the tension better through visual and audio effects. Like, the music can build tension just by, you know, getting more chilling. The visual effects, like, they make a visual effect to these creatures when they are around. And they even give the creatures more of an active role in the story. Like, in the movie, they're actually like whispering to the people and trying to convince them to take their blindfolds off and look. And none of that stuff happens in the book. Like, there's no trying to convince from the creatures or whatever. Like, it just, I have issues with the book. I have all sorts of issues with it. I gave it 2 stars based on the premise alone because it is an interesting premise that I think just could have been written a little bit better or had much more to it, and I think that it could appeal to a lot of people, but it really just didn't work for me. I have also read Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think this is my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book so far. I've only read 3, I know, and I know Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is like an amazing book. I loved it. It was one of my favorites of last year, but this is more of a me book. This is very contemporary. It's about a woman who she doesn't know what she's doing with her life, so she moves back home, and one night she has a choice to either go home with her ex-boyfriend, who they ended very amicably, they're very friendly, but they always have kind of wondered, like, what if we hadn't broken up, because things were great. They only broke up because they were going to different colleges. So she can either make this decision to rekindle things with him or not. And the book is one of those that splits, and it shows you those two different decisions. I gushed so much last year about Jane Unlimited and how it felt like a choose your own adventure. This is the same thing, but it's much more of a smaller look at that. It's just this one decision and how her life could go if she chooses path A or path B. And I loved it. That is just a concept I love seeing explored in books. I think that it's so cool when stories can really fully explore that, like how decisions impact us. I love the friendship and the found family aspect of this. What I really love about this is that both scenarios were so real feeling. They both had good and bad parts, or things that the character, you know, sees as unfortunate in the moment, but they were both very likable, and so it made it so hard for me to have a preference. I loved that, because I was like, oh, this is such a good life, but if she chose the other one, she could have had such a good life too. And I loved that things that would happen in path A would also come up in path B, but at different times. Like, they're kind of, you know, destined to come about no matter what path your life takes. And they do actually talk about the multiverse in this at the end, which is really cool, and they acknowledge that these are only two paths versus all of the other decisions that this character could have made. It just gives you hope that no matter what decision you make, it's not necessarily the right or the wrong choice in your life, but that even if you make a choice that feels wrong now, it can still lead to really good things. And it just made me feel happy and hopeful about just choices and the different directions your life could take, and that maybe sometimes things are meant to come around, but just in different ways. It's just a concept and idea that really, really appeals to me. Like, this is a Trina book. If you want to know what's a Trina book, this is one of them. I have finished Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Young. This is a YA epic fantasy, I guess I'd say epic fantasy, and we have characters that are human and characters that are demons. And the demons they're like a mix of human and different animals. So some of them are different bird types, they have wings or feathers, some of them are cat-like, some of them are bull-like. In this world, you have one king, he is a demon king. He has a whole, like, bunch of courtesans. Every year 8 girls are chosen, and these girls normally, they want to be a courtesan. They put their name in to this selection process. They want to be there because it gives them a life of luxury, and it basically like pays off their families. But we're following a main character who wants no part of this, and basically her village is raided and she is taken by force to the palace to be one of the courtesans. So because this is dealing with a girl who is forced into being a king's courtesan, which is basically a mistress if you don't know. They are required to entertain and have sex with the king whenever he wants to call upon them. And so because of that, this book does deal pretty heavily with rape and sexual assault. If you need a list of the chapters where these scenes take place, I did list them out in my Goodreads review, at least the ones that I'm aware of. I don't think I missed any, but I am only human. Now, I don't really know how I feel about all of the sexual assault that is dealt with in this book. Was it necessary? No, but I understand why it was there, because we are dealing with courtesans, and, you know, the author's wanting to show that someone who doesn't want to be there and is forced to be there, there's no consent. I think that the plot could have done without showing it as in-depth as it did, although nothing is graphically described. Like, you lead up to things and then it will cut, but you know what happens and you see the character dealing with it. So the book does come with a trigger warning, by the way, about that, and I definitely would say please heed that. If you don't want to or can't handle reading about assault, then this is not a book to go into, because that's there. Like I said, I don't think it's necessary, but I also don't think that it handled it in a bad way. It never romanticizes it. Something that I really loved about this series was there's a rebellion aspect in here. It's not like a chosen one rebellion. It's not like you are the one that can lead our people in our society to a better power structure. It's not like that. It's just like a group of like-minded people who don't like the current power system and everything that's in place, and they want something better. So I really enjoyed that. Also, this does have a sapphic romance. There's a female-female romance, and the main character and her love interest, I just really loved them together. I liked their dynamic. It's kind of a Mr. Darcy situation because the love interest was pretty cold at first, and then it's like, but I like you. I really thought that the writing in this series was gorgeous. It was very beautiful and vivid, but it was also easy to read, and it felt like there was depth to it. I don't completely understand all of the world and like the class systems and all the magic and stuff like that, but I don't feel like the author doesn't understand it. I don't feel like it's not there. I just feel like maybe it was a little over my head, or there's more important stuff going on than to focus on developing all of that right now. I definitely want to continue this series. I'm hesitant about how it handled sexual assault. Like, not that it did it badly or anything, just that I think that might push some readers away. I really enjoyed this. Just go into it with that warning. I also read What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I guess I said it like that because I love Becky Albertalli. This is a YA contemporary romance about two boys who have a meet cute. They just happen to meet at the post office, and then they part ways, and they did not get each other's contact information, and one of them didn't even have the other one's name, and they each go their separate ways, and they just can't stop thinking about each other. Like, what if I should have gotten that person's number and asked him out? Becky and Adam, I've seen them talk about this book. I went to one of their tour stops for it, and they were saying that their inspiration for this book is the Craigslist missed connections forum, where, like, say you're at Starbucks and you see a cute person and you didn't talk for whatever reason, you go on Craigslist so you can say, hey, you were the blonde wearing the blue hat who ordered a caramel macchiato, no whip, and I was the person in the weird shoes. You know, like, you give them a detail about what the person that you saw was, and then detail about you, and say like, hey, if you thought I was cute too, here's how you can contact me. That's not really what happens. There's more of like a try to find your Instagram handle. When that doesn't work, put up a flyer in a coffee shop. But it's the same idea about a missed connection, and then they do end up meeting up. They develop a romance from there, and it just talks about, what if we were meant to be? What if this was the universe throwing us together in that one moment? Does this mean that, like, we're soulmates and that we're gonna end up together, or does it mean that this was just for right now? I really thought it was so cute. I liked both of the main characters. I've seen a lot of people saying they hated all the characters. I hated one of the friends, side characters, just so annoying, just an energy that I could not deal with in real life. But I liked the two main characters. I really liked Arthur. Now, you can really tell which author wrote which character. Like, I feel like these characters are an embodiment of if Adam and Becky were teenage boys. So if you like Becky Albertalli's writing and Adam Silvera's writing, I think that you're gonna love the way that this book blended them, because you can tell, like, it is such a Becky and Adam book. I really liked it. It was swoony and feel good, but also very realistic in a way that I just appreciated. And I'm also going to talk about The Lady's Guide to Piracy. No, that's the wrong word. The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is the second book in her Montague siblings series. The first one was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, and now we are following the sister, Felicity. This is historical, so this is set during a time where women just don't have a lot of respect and rights. So we're following Felicity. She is asexual, by the way. She wants no interest in romance, and so she's kind of been made to think, like, well, if you don't want to get married and bring advantage to the family, you're worthless to us. She doesn't want to be forced into being someone's wife, so she kind of sets out on her own. She wants to be a doctor. She's so smart, but there's so much sexism in that day and age that no one in any hospitals will take her seriously. She has so much medical knowledge, and she thinks that she, you know, would be an advantage to the field. And all these men who are actually doctors, they're just like rich white boys whose family can pay for them to be there, and they're not actually doing the research and having the knowledge that is needed. So she really wants to be a doctor. They refuse her, and she ends up going on this like quest to meet with one of her favorite a guy that's an author who's written all these studies that he's done. She wants to meet him, and it just so happens that he's engaged to her former best friend, who she had a really big falling out with. But she teams up with a pirate who wants to meet up with the ex-best friend for some reason, so they go set out to do that. An adventure ensues. They go after this like mythical thing, so there is like this fantastical element. It did take a little while in the story for it to really become clear like what the story was about. As soon as Felicity leaves Monty, like, I liked it after that. It's not that I don't like Monty and Percy. Like, they are in this, by the way, the two characters from the first book. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that the story didn't pick up until she sets off on her own. There is a side character, Sim, who is a black Muslim sapphic character. There is a female-female crush. Felicity she's your not like other girls girl, and she gets that idea really challenged because her former best friend is really girly, and that's kind of why they had a falling out, because Felicity was like, why do you like dresses and tea parties, and why do you want to get married? And this other girl was like, well, because I like those things. That doesn't make me any less, you know, it doesn't make you any less that you don't want those things. Like, why can't we be equals? And I really like how it challenged those ideas about femininity. Petticoats and Pirates has some issues, has a few things wrong. Like, Felicity makes assumptions about Sim because of her race. Like, she has a stereotype in her mind, and I don't think that that's checked quite enough, although I think that's the intention of the author. Like, obviously the author is trying to be inclusive and to combat that, but I don't know if it comes across well enough on page. I'm not an authority on that representation, so don't look to me as like the final judgment on the book. So like, there are things that I didn't like about it, but it was a fun adventure, and I liked the discussions about femininity and friendships. Those are all the books I will be reviewing this time. Let me know any feedback you have about this style of wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!